Reflections of a Diva. Today we are discussing how to unlock your passions and follow your dreams. Take a stroll with me and think back to your childhood dreams and aspirations. What did you want to be when you grew up, and who are you now? Have you accomplished your career goals? Do you feel fulfilled in your current career? If the answer is yes, congratulations, because most women are not satisfied with their current careers. There are many reasons why we veer from our career paths. Sometimes it's due to having children early or family finances, or maybe something tragic derailed your career goals. Whatever the reason, the question is, how do I unlock my passion and follow my dreams? Today we have two very special guests on Reflections of a Diva. Ms. Rhonda Height, event host and president of Let's Talk LLC, will help us to understand how to step out on faith as business owners. And Ms. Roz Lewis, executive director of the Georgia Women's Business Council, will show us how to maximize our business potential as business owners. But first, let's talk to the Divas about their current goals and if they're following their dreams. Well, welcome, ladies.
Hello, how are you?
How are you?
Peachy.
Wonderful. Is anybody currently following their goals and feel that they have found a way to unlock their passion?
I feel like I am.
Yeah, really?
I feel like I am. And in your intro, I thought it was so interesting because a lot of times I think people's misconception is that your career somehow defines you or that is your passion. Mm-hmm. And I think our life experiences help us tap into what our passion is. Mm-hmm. So one of my passions is to make a difference. But more specifically, the way that I go about trying to do that is I started a foundation called Pathways for Single Parents, and I was passionate about that because I ended up being a single parent, and that was not something that I dreamt of or thought that I would become, but I am a successful single parent. And so one of the things that I want to do is try and help other parents who are going through similar things that perhaps I went through, who had to derail their dreams or delay their dreams, if you will. So one of the things that I'm really, really passionate about and that I love doing is writing. So I'm currently working on a book.
Wonderful.
So I really feel like, but again, it took life and experiences for me to tap into what that was. So my job does not necessarily define my passion, if that makes any sense.
Now, are you following your passion full time, or is this a part time?
No, it's a full time thing. And I'll tell you something. I actually, again, happenstance in life. I went to a trainer, you know, and I was just really, truly. It just came out so great, and everyone else perceived me as this trainer, as such a dynamic trainer. Well, then I started doing that as a profession and found that I was actually very passionate about it. So when I say making a difference, I can make a difference from 9 to 5 as a consultant or trainer, you know, or I can make a difference if I'm talking to my sisters, you know, and really sharing that words of wisdom. You know, making a difference, rather it be in Kroger at the grocery store, and simply giving that smile and really letting my light shine. And it may be just words of encouragement that I say to the lady that's in the checkout counter. Those are the kind of things where I know I've tapped into my passion. Now, some of the other things that I do in addition to that, the writing and, you know, the coaching and the things that I think that make me better at it. But I truly feel like I've tapped into my passion, and it's a blessing. It feels good.
Wonderful. Anybody else?
I agree with Jima. You started off by saying that people think that their career is their passion, and that's not necessarily true. And I know we talked before the show, Crystal, about how I really do believe that everybody has their passion and they know what their passion is. They may not have identified it yet, but they're probably living their passion, but they haven't framed it in that same light. And I shared with you, and I'll share with everybody else, that I was the kid back in 7th grade who started a self-help group for the kids in my class.
Wow.
And, you know, here I am 30 some odd years later, and I'm a psychologist, you know, so I've been living my passion. I've been on this journey, and I call it a journey because it's winding and it's always changing, but my passion always remains the same, and that is to make a difference in the lives of families, particularly families with children. And my motto has been changing the world one family at a time. So pretty much everything that I do, not only in my 9 to 5 day-to-day life, obviously I'm a psychologist, I work in the schools, I deal with kids and families, but also the other organizations that I've become a part of always have something to do with children and families. And one that I'm particularly passionate about right now that I'm very involved in is an organization called Saving Our Children. And it's so funny, I don't quite know how I became involved in it, but I simply did become involved in it this past year. And through that organization, I learned that every 40 seconds, a child in this country is abducted, murdered, or abused in some way. And that 33% of these children are African American. Wow. So roughly 1/3. We're talking hundreds and thousands of African American children each and every year. But the problem is most of us don't know that because they're not in the media, they're not on the milk cartons, they're not on CNN, they're not on, they don't get that important publicity that they need in order for them to be brought home. Part of that is because parents don't know the steps to take to get that media attention. A lot of us in this community don't have the outlet, the resources to just pick up the phone and call the news director or whoever. So part of the mission for Saving Our Children is to educate parents who are unfortunately in that situation, but also to spread awareness to the rest of the country about the fact that it's literally an epidemic. And that's something that I'm very passionate about. And it's part of my journey. Where life leads me, you never know. Life with Elise is always, a crazy one. But I bet you 10 years from now, I'll still be living in that passion, making the lives of families
you're
different.
kind of rare. You're rare because you had this dream as a child, and then you went on to college to become a child psychiatrist, right? Psychologist. I always make that mistake. A child psychologist, yes. And then you're now following your dream with your nonprofit. So you have kind of had a steady path to your goal. If you followed your path. In our conversation we were having earlier, I was sharing to you as a child at the same age, around 12. My mother laughs and talks about how I started sending my allowance to feed the children. And I adopted a child, and I was really passionate about that. But as a career, I went into business. I'm a procurement specialist by trade, which is totally the opposite of what I wanted to do in the nonprofit sector, working with children, but I had to feed my family and I had to go for, So it's kind of, and my situation is more common than your situation, I would love to be full-time in the nonprofit sector, and God willing, that's what I'll do. But in the meantime, I have to pay the bills, and that's what my current job does for me.
Right.
Anybody else have a similar
Most people find themselves in that same predicament, just like you said in the opening, through life's journeys and changes and children, and sometimes we just get derailed. So that's excellent. Not all of us are as fortunate to know early on.
Right.
And you know what? I didn't really know it. It didn't come together for me until much later in life. When I went to college, I just knew I was going to be a pediatrician. Okay. And that's what I had set out to do. I mean, still child-centered, but I kind of took a different path.
Wow, that's good.
And I would also add that another thing I think everyone knows what they're passionate about. You know what you love, you know what makes you tick, but on the flip side of that, some of us, and I will include myself in the number, are afraid to step out on faith. You know what it is that you're supposed to be doing. It's something like, everybody knows I'm passionate about baking, and a couple other things I'm passionate about. I love helping at-risk children. I mean, that's just something that makes me tick. And then I'm also very passionate about HIV and AIDS awareness. And I always wanted to start my own nonprofit HIV/AIDS awareness peer education group for high school students. Haven't done it. My own bakery. And it's so funny because when you all were talking about your childhood, when you adopted a child and you were a child, one of the funny high school superlatives that I got was most likely to be the next best Betty Crocker. Because I baked a lot in high school. And it's something that I love to do and I'm good at and decorating, but I still haven't stepped out on faith.
What's your fear? What's your fear?
You know what, honestly, and I just